teach you to love. Only God knows.
Hello and welcome to episode 33 of the Downtown Dish. I am your host, Katie Schamberger. You know I busted out my sequence for New Year's Eve, and this week on the Downtown Dish, we are saying peace out 2020. Come on in 2021. It's got to be a better year, right? Anyways, we do have some fun stuff lined up for you on this week's episode. We are going to do things a little differently this week. We are going to catch up with Kansas City Councilman Eric Bunch, who represents the 4th District. We're going to kind of go more like traditional podcast format with him. We're going to have a longer chat, and you guys, we talk about everything from where he's been eating outside to the role he played in helping restaurants set up so much of this outdoor seating that we've seen throughout the year. He's going to talk about his cold weather underwear. I know. It's so fun, I promise. And more big news, Jared Campbell with the Downtown Council and a founding member of the Downtown Dish is going to stop by because he has a super cool initiative that starts next week, gives you a chance to support local downtown restaurants here in Kansas City, which we think in the next couple months is going to be even more critical than it has been. So he's going to give you the scoop on how you can participate, how you can win, and so much more. Big thanks this week and every week to our partners for making the Downtown Dish happen at Downtown Council, KC Streetcar, Kansas City Downtown Neighborhood Association, and Lynchpin Ideas. Let's get it rocking.
You're projecting and teasing and saying what you would do better, but it takes some talent to just put
All right,
the
friends,
comment.
we are going out of 2020 with a bang here on the Downtown Dish. I am really thrilled to welcome Jared Campbell, Resident Engagement Project Manager at the Downtown Council and a founding partner of the Downtown Dish. He has a really cool initiative that he is going to share with us today. Jared, welcome to the Downtown Dish.
Thank you, Katie. I'm so glad to be on the dish and be talking to you.
It's like you helped create the dish, and now you're on the dish.
I'm in a hot seat today, that's for sure. I'm not behind the scenes.
Don't worry, we're all friendly here on the dish. This will be so much fun. But Jared, really glad to have you. You have been an integral part of our team behind the scenes, of course. I appreciate you, just a constant flow of information to make sure that I know what's going on downtown. And you had a really cool idea here recently that we are debuting on the Downtown Dish, the KC Carryout Challenge. Give us the scoop. What's this all about?
Yes, well, thank you, Katie, for having me on so I can talk about this idea. It's really something that I've been thinking of for a while because, as you know, winter is upon us, and it is traditionally a tough time for restaurants after the holidays. And now with the pandemic, it's devastating. And I'm preaching to the choir, but as you know from the Downtown Dish and just being out in the community, so many restaurants are hurting. So many restaurants are closing either for the winter months or permanently. That I really wanted to come up with something that we could do to help them out. And what you do on the Downtown Dish is amazing, highlighting so many cool places downtown. But I was really looking for a call to action, something that individuals could do consistently over the winter months to really help our downtown restaurants. And so the Kansas City Carryout Challenge is very simple. From January through March, every Wednesday, order carryout or delivery from a downtown restaurant. It could be one of your favorites. It could be a place that you've been wanting to try. It could be breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It could be any meal of the day, but give your kitchen a break. Order from a local restaurant and help them, continue to stay in business through the winter.
This is so great. So every Wednesday, January through March, get carryout any time of day from a downtown restaurant.
Exactly. And since it is a challenge, that means there's a prize involved.
Oh, okay.
So if you go online to social media, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, tag Downtown Dish KC,
Mm-hmm.
and then use the hashtag KC Carryout Challenge, you'll be giving away a $50 gift card every week on Downtown Dish to a local restaurant. And so all you have to do is take a picture of your food or take a picture of you enjoying your carryout, post it on social media on Wednesday, and then you'll be entered into a chance to win the following Downtown Dish episode. So it's a great way for us to continue to give back as well as encouraging people to go out and order carryout.
I love it. This is the power of partnerships right here. Yes, we are going to be announcing winners every week on our episodes. Of course, we will then post that information on our social media channels. So as Jared said, be sure to tag us at Downtown Dish KC. We are now on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So find us any of those places. And yes, hashtag KC Carryout Challenge. Don't forget the hashtag, chances to win. Jared, I mean, where do I even start first with, I mean, there is just an abundance of carryout in downtown. I don't even, where are you going to start?
That's a tough question. I need to start mapping out my game
We
plan
need a
because
strategy.
we do. It'll be here before we know it. And that's really what I love about, living downtown and working downtown. There are so many great options. And of course, I have my favorites, but then it's an opportunity to try new places as well. But I might, say I'm interviewing this at Spokes. And
Yes.
they were kind enough to show me their new waffle sandwich. So I think this could be a contender for my first carry-out item.
Oh, that waffle
Um,
breakfast sandwich. Doesn't it have a little bit of syrup on it? Did I read
it
that right?
You did, yeah, a little maple syrup
Oh my
drizzled on
gosh.
top. So that first Wednesday in January, I think this is going to be carry-out option number one for me. I'm going to take that back to my desk and eat that for breakfast on that work day. So yeah, Spokes is high up there on my list.
Yes.
Milwaukee Deli is a favorite little neighborhood hangout of mine. It's a block away from my condo building, and their pizza travels very well.
Yes. Well, and Jared, so here's another dimension that we have to factor in. Hopefully, everybody tuned in a couple weeks ago and saw our chat with Derek Klaus with Visit KC. But Restaurant Week
Yes.
is on the horizon, January 8th through the 17th. And as we heard with Derek, Restaurant Week this year is going to have more carry out and delivery options with those, safety guidelines in mind. That's like a whole new ball game.
It really is, and it's a great way to blend the KC Carryout Challenge with Restaurant Week starting so early next month. And so I, for one, would encourage people to really, partake in Restaurant Week, to visit some of these restaurants, but also, to consider the carry-out or delivery options. So many restaurants are really incorporating that into their mix now, and it's a great way to still go out, support them, have a nice meal, but then, really adjust to your comfort level. And so whether it's carry out or delivery, you can, still be able to enjoy all these great restaurants from the comfort of your home. And so don't forget Restaurant Week, that's for sure.
You are leading the way with this Kansas City Carryout Challenge, and we are grateful to you for that. And you somewhat recently, at this point, joined Downtown Council, correct, as the Resident Engagement Project Manager. And I feel like, if memory serves me correctly, this is a new position. So I'd love to have you just share with all of us a little more about the work that you're doing there with Downtown Council. As you said, right in your backyard there where you live and work in downtown Kansas City.
Yes, absolutely. Well, yeah, thank you for that. I started October 1st, so I'm just
Okay.
a few months into the position. It is a brand new position. It's something that they've never had before. But, as we've looked at downtown in 2020 with the pandemic, the residential sector is now the strongest sector of downtown. Office workers are at home. The hotel tourism industry is on pause.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of sports or cultural events taking place at the T-Mobile Center, for example,
Right.
but we still have over 30,000 residents in greater downtown, and that number is still growing. There's more construction taking place, new buildings opening up, this year and next year. And so, to the credit of the downtown council, they thought, it's time we have a full-time staff member that's engaged in resident issues. And so that's what I do. I work with neighborhood associations. I'm a long time, involvement with the Downtown Neighborhood Association myself, founding board member, and then just rolled off from the past 5 years as being president of the board. But you've got Crossroads, you've got Columbus Park, you've got the West Side, 18th and Vine. So part of what I want to do in this role is bring all of these sub neighborhoods together under the umbrella of Greater Downtown, and really start to engage at the neighborhood association level, at the individual residential building level, find out what they need, what they want to see downtown, and how we can help make that happen. And so one of the things I'm working on is a 2021 resident survey that I'll be launching right after the first of the year, to really ask a lot of questions of downtown residents about what they like, what they dislike, what they would like to see as far as amenities, retail, restaurant concepts, green space ideas, for example. And so, yeah, it's really helping downtown feel more like a neighborhood, making sure the residents are engaged and connected, and have the ability to call downtown home.
I love that. Jared, let's say we have residents tuning in, which I know that we do every week. Is there a way that people can get in contact with you if they want to maybe learn more about the survey, or just, stay in touch going forward? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my email is Jared, Jared, at downtownkc.org. That's
I
the
can
best
remember
way.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Pretty easy, but yeah, that's the best way to reach me and stay connected. And I'd be happy to, engage or, visit with anyone that has questions or comments. And yeah, I really do want to push out this survey and make sure as many people know about it as possible, starting in the 1st of January, because that's really going to be my roadmap, right? In this position as resident engagement project manager, that's how I get to hear from the residents, and how the downtown council gets to hear from the residents, and what they want us to do and work on, over the next 12 months.
Let's all follow Jared's lead. KC Carryout Challenge is upon us. Get that carryout every Wednesday, January through March. Tag us at Downtown Dish KC on social media. Use hashtag KC Carryout Challenge and be entered to win weekly prizes. Weekly prizes. So I'm ready. I'm ready for the new year. Jared, are you ready for 2021?
I can't wait.
Okay.
I'm ready for this year to be done and behind us. We've got some exciting things happening in 2021 that, like you said, it's going to be still a struggle for those first few months, but the light is at the end of the tunnel. And so things are going to be getting better, and I can't wait for the new year.
Okay, so Jared, thank you so much for stopping by the dish. Kansas City Carryout Challenge starts next Wednesday. Every Wednesday, January through March, get carryout from a downtown restaurant, get delivery, whatever you feel comfortable with. Share your food pictures with us. Tag us at Downtown Dish KC. Use that hashtag KC Carryout Challenge. Do it every week. We are giving away weekly gift cards. So the more you participate, the more chances you have to win. And of course, super exciting kickoff. Restaurant Week also starts next Friday, so that gives you about a week and a half of delicious carryout menus to explore to start the KC Carryout Challenge. And then, of course, we will keep it going through the end of March.
Now I see, I don't need.
Well, it is New Year's Eve. Get out of here, 2020. No, there was some good stuff that happened. So we're going to look back on 2020. We're going to look ahead to 2021. And I am really excited about our guest who is going to help us do that. Please welcome to the Downtown Dish, Councilman Eric Bunch of the 4th District here in Kansas City. Councilman, welcome to the Dish.
Thanks for having me, Katie. This is great. I love the work that you do, and I'm excited to chat a little bit about, looking back on 2020 and what's ahead in 2021.
I feel like, ideally, like, we should really almost be like talking about 2020 like with like a drink nearby, like a hard drink.
I know.
And I just have my coffee here. But I did want to look back, and I did want to say that there are some good things that happened. I mean, the Downtown Dish came to life in 2020.
Yeah.
But I think that one of the more pivotal things that happened, especially for our local restaurant industry, is the updates to some of the city ordinances that made some different types of outdoor seating and those configurations easier to put into place. And Councilman, I know that you and Councilwoman Andrea Boo in the 6th District were kind of the co-sponsors of those changes. Can you talk, can we kind of go back in the time tunnel and, kind of what sparked that idea, and then what kind of outcomes did you see as a result of those ordinance updates?
Yeah, and if I recall correctly, I think also Mayor Lucas may have been one of the sponsors as well. And I would say, I give a lot of credit to my colleague Andrea Boo for doing a lot of the heavy lifting. She's was so great to work, is always great to work with, and on that one was really, really great. And what sparked the conversation there, a few things. Obviously the big one was, we know that restaurants are really struggling during this pandemic, and our hands are tied to some degree on what things we could provide. So we got to work just to look into the things that we actually could do. What are the things in our power? And one of those was, let's be more flexible with how restaurants can use their outdoor space. And before the pandemic started, actually, I had sponsored an ordinance that actually opened up the opportunity for restaurants as well as other businesses to create space on like a parallel parking space, which earlier last year, I think people had a hard time visualizing what that would look like. Then suddenly those became so important.
Right.
And one of the efforts that we went through on this was relaxing some of the requirements and expediting the permits, waiving the permit fees. And so fortuitously, we didn't have to completely revise our code to make that happen. But we just wanted to make sure that those street cafes were expedited. It was really awesome to see. And I'm not one to look at a pandemic as an opportunity to do things. A pandemic is a time to get to work and help save people's lives in whatever way we can and stay healthy. But one sliver of a silver lining was seeing these outdoor spaces pop up. I'm a big believer in high quality outdoor spaces, and one of those ways that, as I said, we found out that we could help was just making it easier for people to take some unused space outside and open it up to business. And it was really great to see so many of those pop up all over, mostly in downtown, but just like overnight, they were just under construction all over, and it was really fantastic to see that happen. In addition, we helped some of the ordinances helped waive some of the fees. You could do more to-go stuff, which was absolutely necessary during all of this. But also allowing people to take up some of their parking spaces. I'm a believer that we should work towards better public transit and better walkability and bikeability. I think a lot of people know that about me.
Yep.
And one of those things is like, let's use our land more wisely, and parking lots are kind of they're something that we could use the space better. And this was a great opportunity to display that. Again, want to be careful about using this as an opportunity to do new things, but it was a really great example of how we as a city often hold back restaurants and other businesses from making the best out of the land that they do have. And we saw outdoor dining pop up overnight in parking lots, and such a better use of the land than the parking lot. And people were still finding ways to get there and use it. So it was like, maybe it's a realization that we don't need all that parking and that we can put it to better use. So anyway, that was a long way of saying I was really happy to have some colleagues to work with on just doing and there were a few other things we did as well to try to help our restaurants through this really difficult time. And I think that we're going to be a better city for it in the future because of these things that we've really put to the test during this time.
Well, and I love that. And I mean, we were tracking kind of the development of those outdoor spaces here on the downtown dish. Councilman, weigh in with your comfort level, but I know me personally, I've definitely been fine with outdoor dining, and even as it's gotten colder, bundle up and go outside and take advantage of some of the heated patios. But that, to me, that's been my comfort zone, as opposed to dining in at this time and the last few months.
Same for me. I the outdoor spaces have been critical for me because I don't go inside. I've seen the science on that, and so I think that the outdoor spaces are vital for me to get out, and so I'm with you. I'm in that same comfort zone.
Well, but it is so great too, because it is wonderful to have seen so many restaurants and their approaches. We've seen very kind of simple functional setups like Tannen using that strip of parking spots and that surface lot next to them and just kind of cordoning that off, putting some tables, perfect, extending their existing patio all the way to places that, oh gosh, I'm thinking of Buffalo State. I'm thinking of Casey Taco Company, Casey Wine Works that have actually built.
Yeah, the street cafes. Yeah,
the street cafes, which I love. Made in KC is another favorite street cafe. But all the way to places like Tomstown, which had kind of the open side tents and brought out rugs and plants, and you totally get this ambiance, and you're like, we're in the parking lot. But Councilman, I love your input on this too, because I do feel like, to your earlier point, sometimes with change, some of us kind of have to see a concept to really get behind it. And I just remember being absolutely floored. It was several months ago on the dish. We welcomed Chris Beyer of Strange Days Brewing. It's another business that took advantage of the parking spot opportunities. And he had quoted some numbers about how many people they could still safely accommodate in one parking spot. And still, months later, I cannot get this out of my head. It blows my mind, to your point. And even Casey Taco Company, I think they ended up that street cafe is really only maybe a couple parking spots, if I'm remembering. But then the opportunities, the number of people then that can be in that size of a space is crazy.
Yeah, it's and there's so many more benefits even just beyond the direct benefits to that business. But you're right. I mean, I think it takes something like this and takes that level of creativity to realize how much better use you can put some of those. And I'm not advocating to get rid of every parking space. I think
Right.
we have more parking than what we need in most
Yes.
places, and I think that in those cases we absolutely should be, as a city, doing everything we can to allow those businesses to unlock that potential there. And Strange Days was a really fascinating example where I saw that they tweeted a picture, like an aerial of their parking lot, and they're like, in 6 days, this is all that parking is going to be turned into a huge patio. And I unfortunately haven't been over there since I believe they did that. But I think it was a great example of a business looking like, hey, we've got all this extra space where we can seat people here, and they're outside regardless of the pandemic. I mean, we obviously have to keep that in mind, but like, think about what this could be for the future beyond pandemic. That I think there's so much benefit to just being outside, and this is really, I think, exposing that, and I think it's something that will definitely stick. But I've always been an advocate of finding better uses for those spaces, and think about another thing that came out of the parklets and street cafe ordinance way back when was that we also opened up the opportunity for businesses to put bike corrals out in those spaces, because you think about one car parking space, you can fit 12, 15 bike parking spaces in that little narrow spot, and that's the same amount of people as 8 to 12 cars, and so in one car parking space. So it just is a really interesting way to highlight how to maybe use the land a little bit more efficiently. And so I don't know, I think that's a really fascinating thing that goes beyond just the very direct benefit to the restaurants, which was important for us in this whole discussion, of course.
Absolutely. And I want to look ahead with you into 2021. Fingers crossed, brighter days ahead, friends. We're gonna get together at some point. But first off, in specific regard to the outdoor seating and the parklets, Councilman, can you kind of level set us right now? Is that still kind of considered a temporary situation, or has that gone through now to be kind of just a permanent going forward? This is how we're going to treat those opportunities.
So some of the changes are permanent.
Okay.
So the parklet street cafe, this outdoor seating that's in a parking space, that was something that predated COVID, and that will move forward.
Okay.
There may be more stringent regulations on it rather than the expedited thing, but so that will move forward, and I'm hopeful that a lot of the restaurants have realized the benefit of that, and they'll stick around. We're gonna have to probably have Public Works go out and inspect them to make sure they're safe and ADA compliant and all of that. But I think most of them are standard design that you see in other cities that have been doing this for years. So that's going to stay. I'm going to be an advocate for. Very strong advocate for allowing restaurants and other businesses to continue using their parking spaces more creatively. I think that a business should have the opportunity to have that option. They make the decision on how to use whether to use their parking for parking or some other use. So that's a temporary thing, but I do think that that's something that that's something I know I will continue to advocate for more permanent later. And I think there are a lot of other things outside of the outdoor dining that I think we have an opportunity to explore. Open streets that we did a while back, and traffic calming and things of that nature that are relevant but a little bit different. But I do think that this is giving us a chance to learn and learn what works. And so I'm going to be an advocate for keeping as much of this permanent as possible. Because again, I think being outside has so many benefits beyond just keeping ourselves safe from a deadly virus.
Right. Well, and I want to talk about that for a minute, and then I am going to circle back to, I've got a couple more restaurant related questions for you. But so for those that don't know, Councilman Eric Bunch here with us today on the Downtown Dish. I believe it was prior to your to getting that council seat, but you are a co-founder of Bike Walk KC and Bike Share KC. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, two very critical organizations that I urge people, if you are not paying attention to them right now, you need to be. You can be a member. I'm a member. Come be a member with me. But I'd love to kind of hear a little bit about that. And I know that we were talking off camera. It's a tricky time of year. We're really getting into the kind of the core of winter here in the Midwest. So who knows what's going to happen? It could be 60, we could have a blizzard. I don't know. But I'm curious your thoughts too, back to the benefits of being outdoors, and maybe any input that you have for people to maybe reconsider that behavior of that kind of winter hibernating. I assume you and your family biking in the winter, walking. What are your thoughts on kind of being active in the cold weather?
There was an article, and I think maybe it was in the Atlantic recently, about how in Scandinavia and there's a word for it. I forget if it's Swedish or Norwegian, but there's a word for like being outside regardless of the weather, and how important. It's a really long word that I couldn't even pronounce. So many consonants in it that but it was basically, it's something that's been in the culture of Scandinavian nations for forever, as long as they've been settled, and because they're they have no other choice. It's cold in the winter, and and so I think that what this is teaching us, this this really crazy 2020 is showing how important outside is, and that's what our talk has been focused on a lot recently, just in the since we've been talking here, and so I think that this is going to get us more accustomed to just preparing for the weather, and so something that I've been more aware of versus in the past, and I'm someone who's outside all the time, but I've never been like so dependent on being outside for, if I do meetings in person, they're outside. If I do a, coffee or a happy hour is in like with one or two other people.
Right.
It's outside. And so having those outdoor spaces, I just took it for granted before. And so now I come prepared with, I wear long underwear a lot more. So if anyone's curious, I wear a heavier coat more often, which means that if I'm walking or biking, I end up layering and getting too hot sometimes. But being prepared for the weather is more critical now than ever. So I have a lot of layers, and my family continues to spend a lot of time outside. Something that we've been doing a lot of is exploring local trails, state parks across the state where we can get to without having to, go inside places with the family. And we took our 4-year-old twins and our 7-year-old son out for a hike back in mid-November, and it was 25 degrees. And 4-year-olds are going to complain about a lot of things, but their complaints were more about like, why is this rock in my shoe? And, don't push me, Helen, rather than the cold. And, you just get used to it. And if you dress for it, it's totally doable to spend that time outside. And so, I don't know if you may be ready to ask me about this here down the way here, but one thing, the resource that I found really helpful was the guide for what patios around downtown offer heaters and fire pits. That's been really important for me to follow, because while I can bundle up and deal with the cold and drink a beer with my gloved hand, it is nice to have a fire pit and not be quite so cold. I just spent some time at Brewery Imperial yesterday outside.
Fantastic.
At a really great, one of those really fancy fire pits. It's a new design that's really efficient burning. It was great.
Yep.
Just bundled up and put my hands in my pockets when I wasn't drinking the beer, and things were great. And it's, it is a doable thing, and I encourage people to get outside, even if you're not going to patios for drinks or food. Again, that's where my comfort is, to eat or drink outside.
Right.
But even if you're not at that level, get outside and walk in your neighborhood. Some great resources on trails out there exist. So my favorite one is the Urban Trail Company has a whole bunch of maps of mountain bike and hiking trails around the city. So many opportunities for being outside exist right, down the street, whether it's just walking in the neighborhood, walking to the park, or hopping on a bike and going over to a mountain bike trail, or hopping in the car and going a little bit farther. Some really great outdoor opportunities right here in Kansas City. And just, you'll get used to it, and the kids will get used to it if you've got kids and you want to get them into it. And you don't have to, it's not roughing it if you prepare for it, I think. Is the lesson that I've learned.
Yes, I think that's great. I think I'm going to share a link. We'll drop it here on the screen. But another great resource, that article was fantastic in The Atlantic. We'll link to that. Another great resource is one of my most favorite people I follow on Twitter. And she and her partner have a massive following. But Blair Braverman, who is a dog sled a trainer and musher, and has done the Iditarod. And so she and her partner, their livelihood is being outside in very harsh.
Yeah, in like rural Wisconsin, right?
Right.
Because which is just brutally cold, but that's just the life,
It's just the life. But she had a Twitter thread a couple weeks back with, it was kind of more focused on like the dressing, how to dress, the layering, and some tips, but also like really to, had some other practical tips where like, snacking can help kind of warm up your body, but a full-on meal outside especially can actually make you a little colder, because it concentrates all that blood flow kind of on your midsection as you're eating and digesting. But just things that you never think about. And I feel like she had a couple tips too, that it's like, it's kind of a mindset thing, right? Like, instead of stepping outside and being like, oh, it's so cold. Like, it's cold, but we can do it. We can do it for a little while. Like, we can, take a walk around the block or explore a trail or,
I ran cross country and track all through college and after college, and
amazing.
And then bike commute throughout the year. And so I think being outside was just sort of normal for me, and I kind of take that for granted a bit. But like I would say like there's a temperature around 30 degrees. I mean, really doesn't change too much as long as you prepare for it. It's really like getting in the deep cold before you really get into, especially if you're able to huddle around a fire and bundle up. But in the 20s and 30s, I mean, you really can get used to it pretty quickly.
Right.
And then especially if you're moving, you don't have to wear nearly as much. Like, you don't have to put on the really heavy down parka. And I've been noticing it's weird, the things that you notice after you've like been in this thing where you have to be outside all the time, or you want to be outside all the time. I was looking through the LL Bean catalog, as one does, and looking at different coats, and they have like temperature ratings, and one rating is like a high temperature and one rating is a lower temperature. I was like, oh, that must be like Fahrenheit and Celsius. No, it's not. It's Fahrenheit, but the higher temperature is like what you're comfortable in not moving, and the lower temperature that they have is if you're like hiking or playing with your kids or running around, or because really like the difference in what what you get cold in if you're like walking briskly is 20 or 30 degrees colder than if you're just sitting. And so, I don't need much clothing at all if I'm walking briskly or running. I mean, it's just a lightweight long sleeve shirt. The hands and feet, I think, are the critical thing. So
Yep.
I have a really poor blood flow in my hands and feet. I didn't realize I would be talking about my blood flow in my hands in this, by the way. You never
We
know.
don't shy away from any topics here on the Downtown Dish, okay?
And I'm an open book about pretty much anything. I talked about my underwear earlier, so. But if you have poor circulation in your hands and feet like I do, there's like a genetic condition. I don't know that I have that, but so good gloves are critical. Mittens, I think most people know this, but mittens are far better at keeping in the temperature than just straight up gloves. So
fingers are
keep
all
the
together.
Fingers together.
Yeah.
That is so much better. Invest in some decent socks and if good hiking boots. I don't wear hiking boots. I do a lot of hiking and backpacking, but I don't wear boots for that. I wear boots for in the snow and hiking boots. So you can get some decent lightweight boots that look halfway decent. That will keep your feet so much warmer than last night when I went to Brewery Imperial. I wore my dress shoes and biked home, and I got home and I felt like I was walking on wooden feet because my toes and my whole foot was just totally numb. And so
I'm not laughing at your discomfort. I've been there. I've been there.
It is okay to laugh every now and then at my poor clothing choices, but that was the only problem I had biking home, and cold weather. It was just I didn't prepare for it. I didn't have the right socks and shoes on.
Talking about this good cold weather gear, like maybe also some good things that if people find themselves with extra resources, like some thoughtful things to donate, because I love that we have the opportunities to be outside and to eat and drink outside, but of course there are too many people that don't have any choice but to live outside, and especially it's very difficult in the winter. So even maybe donating a few pairs of like you said, maybe some high quality socks or some mittens, things that you can do. I know me and Councilman, I'm sure you feel this way, but kind of a byproduct of the pandemic especially is just like there's just so many people and organizations and businesses in need of help, and it can be overwhelming. And what can I as one person do? But it's these little things. Get some Carryout, support a local business. Make a donation to a favorite organization. Anything like that can really be huge.
Yeah, I not to get overly political here, I guess I am a politician, but it is frustrating. We're in this situation we're in with we do need a lot more support. I mean, the city needs support from the federal government right now, and we're kind of in a stranglehold there. But
sure.
So it's really up to us as citizens right now to do what's right and to help out those of us who are very fortunate to continue with employment throughout this time. It more than going above and beyond just leaving a good tip and getting a lot of carry out. I think absolutely, like what can we do to help our folks in our community who are experiencing homelessness? And it's a lot more right now because of what's going on. So looking at some good organizations, Restart is one. Hope Faith Ministries is another one that is a homeless day center. Those are all organizations and many others as well who work directly with our folks who are experiencing homelessness. And yeah, I bet they could probably take some donations of warm things right now.
Right.
Decent coats, warm gloves and hats and good socks and stuff. So you definitely reach out and do what you can there. And I know that my wife and I will be doing that this year. And because we're seeing a lot more of the really really ugly downside of this awful disease is seeing people who are without homes right now.
Yep. And I do think, I think if we can all kind of buckle up, things that I'm reading and seeing and kind of paying attention to, early 2021, probably going to be pretty challenging in a lot of areas. But I think, having some, promising solutions here starting to be deployed.
Vaccines.
Get your vaccine. Oh, are we not supposed to get political on the Downtown Dish? Whatever. Get your vaccines.
I think the vaccines are science-based, and I'm as soon as I'm not in line yet to get the vaccine, but hopefully we all will be soon. And as soon as I'm able to do that, I'm going to make a public show of getting it, because we need to build more trust in the scientists who've worked day and night for the last several months to expedite this thing. And I believe it's safe. I've heard a lot, and again, I know we weren't going to talk vaccines. That wasn't the point of the Downtown Dish here, but for us to get back to some sense of normalcy and get get together inside and although again I do love outside, but it would be great to eat indoors at some point and for without limitation, and in order for us to get there, we've got to take every precaution right now, and that's going to be taking the vaccine when it becomes available. And the thing that I've heard some people express some hesitance, saying that, like, well, I'm not going to be the first person in line. We need more people to do this. Well, a whole bunch of people put their safety and health at risk to get to be a part of the studies, to be a part of the phase 3 study on this, and so they put their health at risk to make sure that this was a safe vaccine for the rest of us. So we've done that. I say we as a society have done that. The scientists and the health workers are really the ones who've done that, and the brave people who jumped in these trials. We owe them a lot, and one way that we can repay them is getting the vaccine when it's available. And that's how we're going to get back to getting these restaurants back fully operational, people enjoying the time together that our restaurants and bars and taverns provide us, some the opportunity of fellowship, and let's be in this together through the end.
I miss so much just I feel like, I write about Kansas City. Obviously, I cover Kansas City here on the Dish. And so to me, the more I can be out in the community, that's where I get a lot of my story ideas and I make those connections. So it's definitely been hard.
I'm a coffee shop surfer,
Yes.
and often a happy hour surfer when I have the time in the late afternoon. I need that third place. I'm one of those, I have an office that I can go to right now because I'm the only one in it, and there's no one else on the 22nd floor of City Hall most of the time. I can work from home, but I have to have that third place. And sometimes right now that third place is bundled up on a computer with my gloves on a patio. But I'm with you. I have to have that energy I get from just being around people, not even necessarily talking to people, but just being around people. It's so important to me that the only way I'm going to feel that again is if we get back to normal. But I really do miss happy hours with that aren't on
you
Zoom.
And me, that's my thing. That is and I like to even get there early and pull up a seat at the bar by myself and sometimes I will strike up a conversation, and I've heard the most fascinating stories, and I miss that so much.
Same. I just belly up to a bar. That's just I don't do that I didn't do that all the time, but it was just a nice thing to pop my computer up on a bar and have a coffee or a beer at the end of the day and crank out some emails and do some work. And it's hard not having that right now, because that was so important to have, because you, like you said, sometimes you meet really cool people, or you run into people you know. Or my favorite thing was doing my office hours every Wednesday over at Tower
Tavern. Yep.
Tradition that, you know, my predecessor Jolie Justice started, and I continued, and then boom, just ended abruptly. And doing it, I tried it virtually, and it's just not the same thing. And you know, I'll try to get back to doing some of that more virtually. But I'm looking forward to having a return to office hour bash over at Tower Tavern.
I'll be there. First round's on me. I can't wait. Let's keep that going. So let's look ahead to the magical time when the vaccine is widespread. You know, everybody's feeling good. We've got the documentation. We're feeling safe. We're feeling like we can, you know, do those things that we hadn't been able to do. Question for you: what is the restaurant that you are most looking forward to dining in at again?
Oh gosh.
I know, tough question.
I know. I mean, obviously Tower Tavern, because that's one of them, because it's my place. I probably spent more money there than I would ever actually want to know if I looked it up. And but it's that place that's been so important to me. It was, you know, where I early on got started in getting more involved in local politics.
Yep.
It's just such an important place for me, and I really look forward to getting back there and being around my people, my friends, my constituents, who are really just my friends most of the time.
Yes.
But also having constituents come there and talk, and we talk through really complicated issues, and I just miss that so much. So that's one of them. You know, Lulu's is one of my favorite spots that I've gotten some carryout a few times. Yep. It's just not the same without going in. You know, it's funny because some of my favorite places are the ones that really have great outdoor.
Right.
So I am still going to some of those, my favorite patios. But you know, I look forward to going back to some of my favorite breweries and being inside. You know, I've gone to some of them still because they've got outdoor spaces, but like Torn Label has such a weird little indoor space that I love so much, and it's so dark, but I really like it a lot. It's a really cool, unique indoor space. Parlor is great because you've got so many options. I love the vibe there. Yep. So that's a favorite that I would look forward to getting back to. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
I know.
Pizza. I mean, there's so many great pizza places I want to get back to. I mean, if I wrote down a list, I think it would be a mile long. But
totally, yeah.
Every coffee shop that I don't go to anymore, except to just get it and walk away.
Right.
You know, so yeah, I could go on and on. But
I miss.
Those are some good ones. What about you?
I mean, Brookside. You know, so I'm in Brookside. Brookside. Love Waldo with all my heart. Former 9-year River Market resident. Still spend tons of time in the neighborhood. I really miss, speaking of coffee shops, the entire crew at City Market Coffee.
Yeah.
I feel like Norm from Cheers every time I walk in, and they're like, Katie, and I always see somebody I know. And
you used to live right down there, right?
Yep.
You used to live yeah.
Yep, just down the street there in what used to be
spot.
Delaware Lofts. But those little like upstairs tables.
Yeah.
You know?
I missed that. I haven't been there since before the pandemic for
I
sure.
know.
It's such a cool that crazy spiral staircase to get up there.
That like partly when I'm walking up it, I'm like, don't fall, Katie, don't fall. Don't be that person. You know, and I have spent some time there throughout the pandemic. I'm you know, I am confident in their safety practices, but I will say being able to pull up a chair at the pairing, that became one of my very favorite spots in early in the year. that wine bar. And I did see that they just recently got the green light on the licensing front to be able to serve spirits and beer now in addition to wine. So I cannot wait to go and have them make me a cocktail and toast to that, because they are just one of so many businesses that's been hanging on, getting creative, just, working so hard throughout these last several months to just, try to keep it going.
I wonder if we could see if they could get an outdoor street cafe or something. Because they don't have one, do they?
They don't. They're right there on Oak. I think between 16th and 17th on Oak.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I didn't get a chance to go there before the pandemic hit. So I've some point, one day I will get there.
We're gonna have our reunion happy hour. Or we can go on, because you know what else I like, which I need to know if you like. So I love a happy hour, but you know what I love even more? A bar crawl. I like to hop, and not to get hammered, just because there's so many good places and so many good things to drink, and I just like to kind of Streetcar Donna, she calls it bopping. We bop from, but we can at least start at the pairing.
And in a place like the Crossroads, it's so easy just to bop around from one spot to another, just blocks away. And one of my favorite things was doing every once in a while was getting some friends together and doing a bike pub crawl, and we would hit all the breweries. I mean, not all of them. We can't hit all of them. We wouldn't be able to ride our bikes. But I that's something I miss a lot. There's a fun bike event called the Pub and Pedal that's every fall. My friend Ryan Jones puts it on, and I've done it a few years, and it's kind of mayhem, but I just miss those popping into a dive bar, because it's like a scavenger hunt on bikes, and everyone kind of goes out their own ways, and you convene back and you proven that you've gone to all these different spots. And
I love that.
And they're these really awesome dive bars that are just something that's still so that's another one. I look forward to going back to some dive bars. Yes. That are those tight little weird indoor spaces that I just can't. The Zoo Bar is one over by, that's a regular that I used to go to after before I was elected. We'd go there after city council meetings if we were there for something that was important. We'd hop over to the Zoo Bar afterwards. I miss those too, and I miss doing hopping on the bike and riding with friends to several different ones. And a few, not too much. We wouldn't drink too much. I want to be clear about that.
Right.
But it was a great event that, of course, is near and dear to my heart, is the Tour de Beer. That's a Bike Walk DC annual event that goes around a whole bunch of different breweries, and it's such a great time. But it's it's gone virtual for the last year, this year and last year, or 2021 and 2020, and so I look forward to the day when we can have those types of events again that are just fun outdoor activities, but require grouping that we just can't do right now safely.
Right. Councilman Bunch, we're gonna just prepare to get into 2021 here, but before we let you go, one of the things that I appreciate about you so much is that you are very active and very transparent online. And so can you remind our audience some of those different social media sites and other ways that they can connect with you and kind of stay up to date with what's going on in the 4th District and beyond going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not on TikTok yet, so sorry, folks. I don't have any cool dances, and maybe one day. But I'm pretty easy to find. All my Facebook, I don't really do anymore. It just Facebook it. But I am there. Find me. Eric W. Bunch is my username on all platforms that I use: Instagram, Twitter. Twitter's where I'm most active. which sometimes transparent is putting it lightly. I might be a little bit too transparent sometimes on Twitter, but that's a good spot to find me, often unfiltered. Instagram, you see a lot of pictures of me like hiking with my kids, which is cool. But we also share a lot of like important notices, like upcoming meetings, virtual meetings, I guess. But Eric W. Bunch on all of those, and I love social media, mostly Instagram and Twitter. And then also we do a regular newsletter from my council office. So I think the sign up is on my city council website. Okay. So but if you just search my name, it's Eric Bunch. It'll be the first result is usually my city website.
Okay.
So I think that you can sign up. There we try to provide a lot of important information, upcoming sort of things that have recently happened.
Awesome.
But Twitter is often, I think, the most relevant recent information. So follow me there, I guess, for hot takes. I have a lot of hot takes.
I love the hot takes. Oh, can't wait. Well, thank you so much. This has been tremendous. Like I said, I've admired you and your work for so long. So having you here on the dish. Happiest New Year to you and your family, and I look forward to us planning some kind of happy hour shenanigans at some point in 2021.
Like 3 weeks straight of happy hours is what's gonna, and it's just gonna be, time is gonna be lost to those 3 weeks of happy hours, I think. But Katie, I just wanted to say thank you for everything you do in Kansas City. You're a great advocate for this city, and I've admired everything that you've done. And I think the first time we ever met in person was at a streetcar expansion celebration, because I think it was when we voted, and it's so exciting to see that stuff come to fruition, and I think kind of how we first got acquainted. So thank you for being an advocate for downtown and beyond, and public transit, and so many of the things that we both care about. So keep it up, and I love what you're doing with Downtown Dish, and I'm so excited to be invited to be here. So thanks a lot, and Happy New Year.
It takes some talent to just post a comment when I cannot see you.
Well, friends, our final episode of 2020. What a year. I'm not going to say anything that we haven't already been feeling and hearing and seeing, but I do want to take a moment and thank you, because through all the garbage and the challenges and the horrendous loss, I did get an opportunity, along with our founding partners, to bring the Downtown Dish to you this year in 2020. We are very excited about where we're headed in 2021 because, of course, supporting our local businesses, especially our local restaurants and bars, is always going to be a priority, especially in the pandemic, but of course beyond as well. So thank you for joining us every week. We have much more in store in the year ahead. I hope that you have a wonderful and safe New Year's. I'm going to enjoy one of our official cocktails, the Crossroads Clove. Have you made one yet? You have to try this drink. Cold, refreshing, but it's got that clove simple syrup, which is perfect for these cold days. So, however you celebrate, have a wonderful New Year's. Thank you again for your support, for all that you have helped us do in 2020. Cheers to health, happiness, and success in 2021, and we'll see you next year.
Jump in the